Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Locked On Seminoles, your favorite daily Florida State podcast, videocast, and everything in between. We are the guys behind Noles Anonymous that transitioned to Locked On Seminoles, and we are so happy to be here every day of the week, 5 days a week. Follow us collectively on Twitter at Noles Anonymous. Follow us individually. We'll give you those handles later. Today, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about Kenny Dillingham. Is he going out to Eugene, Oregon? Time will tell. But if he does, I wonder if he'll be running, Nike. Anyway, and then after that, we're going to look at some personnel moves around the map. We got some of our guys leaving. Some of our guys announced they're staying unnecessarily. We got some guys in the transfer portal, and we want to know what's happening. And then we are going to talk a little bit about basketball because, well, I already disappointed my kid today. I'd like to disappoint all of you. Drake, roll that video and let's do this thing, buddy.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
So yeah, folks, before we get into the great show we have for you today, I just want to kind of do some housekeeping, say thank you because I love that y'all listen to us do what we do. That way we can keep doing what we do. If you're on the podcast app, hit that little plus sign in the top right corner. That will follow us. We'll pop to the top of your queue every day, Monday through Friday. If you're on YouTube, like the video, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so when we decide to randomly go live, wild card, you guys will be notified and you'll be able to hop in. And of course, follow us on Twitter at Noles Anonymous, at Tally__Drake, at Go Noles with N-O.
Whatever it is.
I don't know what it is. And me at Max Moody 17 because, well, I made it in 2017 and I am just that damn creative. One little shameless plug I will say for YouTube. If you guys hear something and you're on the podcast app and you want to respond to it immediately in real time, go to YouTube where you can comment on individual videos. We love hearing the feedback. We like to respond. We like doing all that good stuff. But guys, speaking of liking things, how are each of y'all doing today?
We're doing great, Max. End of recruiting time. I can't wait for this to be over. I don't have to look at Twitter again for another 6 months.
Yeah, folks, if you guys don't know, Dave is old, and he is terrible at Twitter and doesn't understand that the T in Twitter stands for trolling. But, Max, I am doing well. Just got back from the gym. I'm coming slightly down from my pre-workout high. Let's do this thing.
Yeah. So, Dave, you are like the poster child, right, of that Netflix episode, where all the people that had become multimillionaires off of social media have now decided it's bad. They're like, guys, it's like the cigarette executive being like, yeah, man, someone should have stopped us sooner. Gosh, too bad. I guess I'll go get my Bentley and I'll think about what I did. But anyway, get yourself off Twitter. Guys, we got to talk about Kenny Dillingham. Speaking of Twitter, I was in some Oregon spaces today. No, wasn't in the state of Oregon. Wasn't playing a game on my computer where I got dysentery. I was literally in the space on Twitter with a bunch of Oregon fans.
Oregon Trailbreak, you're too young.
Yeah. Pleasantly polite people. Interesting bunch, the Oregon fan base. And they were expecting a deal to be done today. Now, the fact that it's not done today, I think, has everyone wondering, is that good? Is that bad? We don't know, but we're going to speculate. Gentlemen, do you think more time is on our side, or do you think more time is a leaning towards he's headed off to Eugene?
In my personal opinion, I mean, we've all worked at offices, or bigger companies or whatever. Typically, when you hear someone saying, I need more time, or when you hear, reports are out there saying that he is still listening, to me, that goes to show that one, there's an offer out there. I think we all can confirm that from people that we've talked to, also on the timeline too. Even though Dave, you hate Twitter, the best way to get your news. And two, that probably means that FSU is preparing for a counter, or they've already given a counter, so he's going to give some time to thought. So, in my personal opinion, if he's still listening at this point. And we all know how Phil Knight kind of likes to screw us over when it comes to, paying for assistants. Look at Jim Levitt a few years ago. Look at the way he, basically has been buying out everybody else. To me, I wouldn't be surprised that Ken Dillingham actually maybe kind of takes the money and goes over to Oregon to kind of be the second-hand man to Dan Lanning and that staff.
Yeah, I will say this. I hope we don't end up in a bidding war with Oregon because, like it or not, they have all the money in the world, and that is not where I want to put all our eggs. I'm indifferent to Kenny Dillingham. I'd take him or leave him, but I don't need to be paying 7 figures for a coach that I feel indifferent about.
So my feeling on Dillingham is that I really like Kenny Dillingham. He's a young, ambitious guy. He wants to be a head coach, and he will be. He's going to be a very good head
Yeah.
coach one day. I'm confident in that. But for what we're paying him, I don't feel that we can't get someone just as good in maybe a different respect, right? Maybe he's better with quarterbacks. This person will be a better game plan designer. There'll be some pluses and minuses. But I think for the money, we can get someone equivalent to. And if we really decide to invest under this new athletic director, he may actually open up the spot for Alex Atkins to come in and us to get an even potentially better offensive coordinator in Alex Atkins. I don't know. I said this when we were talking before the show, but I think the point still resonates is that Dan Lanning is a risk for Oregon because he's 35 years old. He's the whiz kid, right? And if you're going to take one kind of risk, I think you should diversify that risk. So if I'm Oregon, I'm kind of looking at this and going, dude, you are our gamble on a young hotshot whiz kid. We don't really want you to bring another one in. So either go get someone older that's trying to bring their career back to life that maybe has had some falls, but has been around the block a time or two, or get someone that's very safe, middle of the road, 40 to 50-year-old offensive coordinator that's been proven and hasn't had the drop. I don't know. I don't like them taking this kind of unilateral risk of two young hotshot boy geniuses together. I think it's risky.
Just to be clear, Oregon. I hope whoever they hire turns out horribly for
They're
them.
very nice. They're very nice.
I don't care about that. I don't like what happened in
Me too.
2014. Screw them.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I kind of hope Dopey Dan goes over there. Something like that,
So but that's a good example, right? Like Dan Mulligan.
Mulligan. I love it. Yes.
Give him a mulligan. Call him Dan Mulligan. No, but okay, so that is a great example
episode.
because we didn't have a good episode or a good example when we were talking about before the episode. Bringing him on as your OC to me is the opposite gamble of Dan Lanning and would make a shit ton of sense, right?
Yeah.
Ran a similar offense at Mississippi State, right? With I believe Dak Prescott,
Dak
2 years
Prescott,
or
yeah.
so. And then he comes to Florida and say what you want about that team. They could score freaking points under him. So that's what I mean about diversifying the type of risk you're taking, because if he doesn't work out, it will at least be for a different reason. Anyway.
I think the only reason that I wouldn't hire him for that one, I think he has a kind of like clause in his contract where you get fired, you can't be, and go to certain schools like after you get fired. And two, you're going to be recruiting against Lincoln Riley now in the West. Dan Mullen, it's a known fact that man hates recruiting. So if I'm Dan Lanning, I am not hiring literally dead weight when it comes to the recruiting trail. We're going to have to go up against Lincoln Riley. And I think Kalen DeBoer is now the new head coach over actually at Washington also as well. So that's going to be kind of an issue there too. So to me, I think the Kenny Dillingham hire kind of makes a little more sense because as much as we dislike it, typically speaking, when a head coach hires a coordinator or staff, it's always people that they know whether they like it or not. It's typically because, it's a lot easier for me to go, man to man. Like whenever me, you, or Dave, disagree on something for the show, we can actually have a conversation about it and talk our way through to a problem or to a solution. Like that's why you see, coaches that maybe leave after a single year because the messaging personalities don't mesh. So it's kind of like a risk in both senses of the word. So
Yeah. So two things. One, I got to correct something you said. I don't know that it's a Dan Mullen recruiting problem at Florida. As far as I'm concerned, what they're doing right now, I think it's a Florida recruiting problem at Florida because Napier ain't doing it over there either. That's number one. Number two, look, if Dillingham leaves or not, either way, the fact that our assistants are getting these looks for these high-level positions in schools with money, in schools that have recent success, that's a good thing. Whether he takes the job or not, I want our coaches getting looks like that, and that's just a testament to Norvell's the guys that have coached around Mike Norvell and with him. He does a good job with his coaches.
Yeah, and everyone will tell you that, right? When you see your coaches go on to bigger and better things, it is a testament to the head coach. Speaking of diversifying, because that's where I was, and then I let the guys talk, and now I'm going back to it. If you guys want to make sure that your online gambling yields the best results, you got to diversify a bit. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, and to do that, you should go to the place with the most lines, with the most props, with the most possible wagers you can throw out there, so you can be as selective as humanly possible while getting as much money down as you want to. BetOnline.ag is that place, guys. Go to BetOnline.ag, make it a count. Use promo code Locked On. You know how to spell it. It's right there on your screens if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening in the car, it's LOCKEDON, and they will match your first deposit up to $100 at betonline.ag when you use promo code Locked On. And when you're done doing that, guys, I got one more way for you to play on the weekend, on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday. on Sunday on Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer, and Vixen, and that is Prize Picks. You download it in the App Store, the Google Play Store. It is a unique spin on daily fantasy. I hate to tell you folks this, but the reality is if you play traditional daily fantasy, you're probably not going to win. There's guys like my old classmate, Dr. John, who has a PhD, who designs his own systems, and he works with a bunch of dudes that are way smarter than me, way smarter than him, designing and perfecting these systems where they win hundreds of thousands of dollars a year playing daily fantasy. You can't compete. But this simplifies that. You're not trying to score fantasy points with the right, correctly configured lineup. You're picking a team of 3 to 5 guys. Each guy has his own stat. If he's a running back, is he going to go over or under this set number of rushing yards? If you pick right on 3 out of 5 with Bet Online or with Prize Picks, you're going to win some money back on your entry. If you pick right on 4 or 5, you're going to win some more money on your entry. And if you go to Prize Picks, you download it, use promo code Locked On, and you get the welcome bonus of $100 when you put $100 in, and you put 20 of that on your entry, and you hit 5 of 5. Well, you are going to get $200 back on your entry because it is a 10-1, folks. So download Prize Picks, use promo code Locked On, all that good stuff. Enjoy it now. Thank me later. Now we're back, and let's keep spitting the fire. Let's talk personnel. The people, not personal with a French accent. We got some people. Well, let's address our side first, right? So today we saw Jashaun Corbin is going to the NFL. He announced his intentions to declare for the draft. Wish him the best of luck. Look, there's not much to say on Jashaun. It's going to be what it's going to be. I'm not a draft analyst. I think all three of us are of the same opinion. Could see him going anywhere from the 2nd to 6th round. Could see him not getting drafted and picking up a spot the old-fashioned way. It just really depends on how he performs at the combine. The doctors are going to evaluate the hamstring injury. They're going to want to see about that. I will say the reality is he comes from a school, and like it or not, everyone's a little lazy, so we rely on schemas and pre-programmed reactions that has now produced back-to-back great running backs in Dalvin Cook and Cam Akers, and it doesn't hurt to have that logo on your helmet during your highlight tape. It's a subconscious thing, but that is legitimately going to help him to be wearing garnet and gold on those tapes that these guys see because they're thinking Cam Akers, Dalvin Cook. Even before that, help me out here, Chris Thompson, Devontae Freeman, those types of names are going through your head as you see garnet and gold running backs. So good luck to the guy. In a weird move, sorry to call the kid out, but it was just kind of bizarre. Amari Gainer wrote a 5-paragraph letter to let us know he would be staying. I wasn't aware there were alternative options, but it was good to know he'll be here next year. So thank you for that. And then 2 guys up the road, 3.5 hours. If you go up to Macon, Georgia, hang a Louis and proceed west, announced that they will be transferring from the University of Auburn. Bo Nix, Tank Bigsby are both in the portal. Drake, you're more plugged in with the Auburn folks. Are they a package deal? Was it just coincidence? They declared within like 24 hours of each other. What's going on with these 2 guys?
So I got a friend of mine who actually is an Auburn booster. And he actually heard rumblings that Bo Nix was going to transfer out a few weeks ago. I talked to him a little bit today. He did not know about the Tank Bigsby thing. That was a little smoke behind that because Brian Harsin is not the most popular, coach down there right at the moment. So most likely won't be having a job in January. At probably, after the end of the year, you can read between the lines before that. With Tank Bigsby probably going out, I actually wouldn't be surprised if he heads to, a school that he's familiar with, like a coach Kenny Dillingham, because as we saw already with DJ Williams, he actually already left out as well. With Bo Nix, is a little more interesting, primarily because he has that do not contact tag actually when you enter the transfer portal. So
you
what
explain that a bit? Sorry, because I don't know what that means.
So basically, what that is kind of like you already have your intentions known to where you're going to be going to. And with do not contact tag, typically schools are not permitted to speak to you, as from my understanding of how the transfer portal issue works. So that to me means that Bo Nix already has a set place in mind for going once you actually enter the portal. Because typically speaking, when you enter the portal, you get announced 2 days later, but your paperwork has already been filed before actually your name is out there in the press, out there in the media. So to me, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bo Nix probably head to wherever Kenny Dillingham is at. If Kenny Dillingham is the offensive coordinator at FSU next year, he's going to probably be coming down here. If Kenny Dillingham takes a job at Oregon, I wouldn't be shocked, actually, if he went over to Oregon to hang out with him, because Kenny Dillingham, for those of you that don't know, was the Auburn OC when we hired him, and also helped Bo Nix become the SC Freshman of the Year in a year that he beat Oregon in game 1 and also beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl as a freshman. And also, he's undefeated against Nick Saban in football games. So that actually is an interesting fact too as well.
Yeah,
Hey,
Tank Bigsby. Talk about slide right in to replace losing a good running back. Tank Bigsby was again the reason a talented running back in DJ Williams left Auburn in the first place. He would be the best running back on our roster right away from day one, no question. I saw a lot of people on Twitter today talking, and yeah, me on Twitter, a lot of people talking about, oh yeah, how have transfer quarterbacks worked out for FSU? People kind of forget that right now our starting quarterback
pretty
is
well, actually, yeah.
a transfer quarterback. Yeah, like you
And
can't.
another one almost beat Notre Dame, who finished the season number 5 in the
Right,
country. So, yeah, I mean, they've worked out pretty well for us.
right. We need a quarterback, and now we need a running back. And from my understanding, that high school number is locked at 25, how many recruits you can take, but the transfer number, depending on how many people transfer out of your school, actually adds to that number. So if we're going to add somebody at another person at the quarterback spot, another player at the running back spot, it makes a lot more sense to do that at the transfer level, especially because they'll have experience and we'll need it at those spots.
Yeah, so I think the way it works, Dave, is you get 25 people no matter what, right? You
Yeah.
can bring in 25. They could be 25 transfers, they could be 25 high schoolers, but it's capped at 25. But you get 7 additional transfers over that 25 once that 25 is full. So I guess it's like the mix can look like whatever it looks like up to 25, and then the 7 additional spots have to be transfers. That's part of the COVID rules. And you still have to fit within that. Was it 83 scholarships? Right?
85.
85.
85. So you still have to fit within that 85 number, though. That's the one thing with COVID is that cap hasn't been raised. So that's why this staff needs to get some attrition going. We may not have time to get to basketball because there's one thing I really want to talk about that actually popped into my head. But first,
Oh no.
guys, let me tell you about something concrete, and that is Omaha Steaks. I don't know what to tell you about Omaha Steaks because there is so much. I mean, this is just us talking, right? It's you, it's me, 1,000 or so of our best friends here. There are very few sponsors I get fired up about ahead of time, right? Like I'll use the stuff and I'll start to like it. I like Prize Picks. I don't gamble, so I don't really use betonline.ag. But when I saw McDonald's, I was pumped. When I saw Omaha Steaks, I was fired up. If you haven't used it before, trust me, I don't care if you're old school, I got to go to the butcher to get my meat, or if you just never really make steak and you say, hey, maybe it'd be nice to have a couple steaks for when, the family all comes in town for the holidays. Omaha Steak will impress you. It does not matter what your standards are. It doesn't matter what you're used to. Omaha Steaks is phenomenal steaks. It's a great thing to get around the holidays. I remember for years and years, we would always order the big box, not for the holiday dinner. Let's be honest, we don't have steak on Christmas dinner. But when you have like 6 people staying at your house, it's a great thing to have 24 frozen entrees that you can then defrost during the day and you get to grill out every night. And if 24 is a good number for you guys, if you go to Omaha Steaks right now, omahasteaks.com or Google search it and it'll take you there. Doesn't matter. And you go to the search bar and you enter college. They will show you a beautiful, beautiful gift box. 24 entrees for $99.99. Guys, that's like $4 a piece for premium steak, chicken, and burgers. And if you go right now, and after you search college and you find that beautiful $99.99 gift box, $4 a piece, and you use promo code college when you're checking out, they will give you 8 additional steaks and burgers. Gentlemen, if you need to impress your father-in-law this Christmas because it's your first time hosting it in a new house, this will help you do that. If you need a gift to take to someone, this will help you do that. And if you just want to enjoy some delicious red meat over the holidays with your family because that's what America is all about, this gift box will do that. omahasteaks.com, folks. Search college, promo code college. You got this. I believe in you. Boom. I know that one was a little long, but boy, do I love some Omaha Steaks. They're like really thin pancakes on a Saturday morning. Anyway, we have this platform and we try to be positive. And sometimes, though, it lets us just vent about things that bother us. And I was thinking about it a little today. And then when I talked about Amari Gainer's announcement that he wasn't going to go pro in something other than sports, it really hit me. I am very disappointed by how we have handled the linebacker position this offseason. I know it's early, but to Dave's point about the rule, we got to clear some headroom to bring in more transfers and more high school kids. We need to flip this roster. if you talk to anybody that knows anything, which our listeners do because they listen to this podcast every day, we need to flip probably 25 to 30 spots on that roster of guys that just aren't Florida State quality, and they're not going to become that quality, and it's time to get them out of here. I'm not saying Amari is like a totally hopeless case. He's had some good games, but him doing that kind of big announcement to me was like, oh my gosh, like this guy thinks he's the hero of the linebacking core. He could be a good player next year, but him in that kind of role is like, yikes. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's like kind of
I mean,
not
he
the
actually had
alignment of
a
where we need him.
no, I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, I think he had a better year than, actually most of us kind of expected. He had a better year than I thought, but I think it is also is important because he did have the opportunity to leave. Yeah, he probably could have gone to the draft. He might have, got somewhere in the practice squad, maybe got drafted based on intangibles alone, maybe done with that. But it shows how like our depth is, really poor right now. And quite honestly, I'm happy we have somebody else coming back because we did lose two more kids to the linebacking core actually to the portal. We still have, Kalen DeLoach is, our best linebacker, but who else is there? Like DJ Lundy to me still should be, either moved up into the Fox spot or maybe even play fullback because he's a liability in coverage. We have no idea what we have in JGM, Jadarius Green McKnight, at all because he's a converted safety. So honestly, I'm not going to fault the kid for declaring he's coming back.
No,
I get
I'm,
what you're. I know I get what you're
yeah.
saying, but it's more like he's definitely someone that like I actually probably would be a lot more panicking because we lost him because we do need that depth and someone that actually has been in the defense for a while.
Yeah, Max. So before we started Locked On Seminoles, before we started Knowles Anonymous, and kind of what prompted this all to start was every off season, especially, we would have the same conversations, and they would sound a lot like what you just heard from Max. We've been talking about this linebacker problem. We've been talking about the wide receiver problem now for what feels like a half a decade, and it hasn't gotten better. I don't know how it gets better at this point. I mean, our linebackers coach just left. Hopefully, Randy Shannon can recruit better than we have at the linebacker position. Ron Dugans is still coaching the receivers. If we don't land Kevin Coleman, this class is going to be a catastrophe. It's still those two positions that are the problem. Yeah, we need a Gainer to come back because at this point, he's one of the best linebackers.
I agree. I agree. My point is, I guess, kind of building on that is, yeah, you need him, and that's the sad part. Is like Gainer should not be a guy that you're like, thank goodness. I mean, he did a full blown announcement with graphics and shit, like full blown 5 paragraphs about how happy is he's staying. It's like we're happy to have another body in the linebacking core. We are, especially a guy that knows the scheme, a guy that knows the defense. But that's not my main gripe. My main gripe is not that Amari Gainer's staying. It's that it's Amari Gainer being celebrated as our best linebacker, at least in his own mind, on top of a very, very deflating, in my opinion, hire of Randy Shannon, a guy that like has literally coached at 3 other Florida schools. And besides, if you really want to get into some statistics, maybe he had a decent defense under Muschamp, but like how much of that was Muschamp and the team sucked, has not done well at 3 other Florida schools. And we didn't even really seem to do a search, right? It's like, oh, he's got South Florida ties. Does he? I don't know. We'll see. We just lost Wesley Bassane 2 days into Randy Shannon being announced as the co-defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. You lose the biggest linebacker you have on your board. That's not fun. And maybe some of it was confusion about Chris Marv, but if it was an internal promotion, then our high-level staff clearly knew, hey, we're going to promote this guy. And they would have told Bassane's people that. They would have known that, and they would have made a business decision based on probably who was getting promoted and a couple other things. But and then on top of that, it's like, who's on our board after Bassane? Who are we really seeing pop up in the transfer? It's just like it's going to be another really long year of slant routes over the middle going for 25 yards pop.
And this is where I kind of like push back a little bit on people saying how it's a little bit different with Mike when it comes to having a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. If you like Dave's saying right now, Kevin Coleman was number 1 wide receiver on our board. Number 2 was Devon Mortimer. Kevin Coleman right now, in my personal opinion, by the the Miami hire of Mario Cristobal, I would not be surprised if Kevin Coleman lands in Miami. And to me, our backup plan is Devon Mortimer, who just today, if you go over in 247 Sports on an article, he actually is not still 100% committed to the school and actually took a visit to Louisville last week. And then with linebacking core, where's Daniel Martin? Where's Demario Tolan? I don't see any other backup plans behind on Wesley Bassane, who you knew was going to be very difficult to grab because he's in the heart of Miami. It's very difficult place to get, and it's from a position group where you knew the coach coming in was not known for their recruiting prowess, and he's always had closing issues since he was at Mississippi State. So to me, it just goes to show that, like, as much as we, like to say how Mike has been doing a lot better recruiting, I don't see the backup plans or the contingency plans coming to fruition with either of these spots. And that to me is very concerning.
Especially considering Mikey Mike was a receiver back in the day, and we happen to be in a state where receivers grow on trees. There are an awful lot of quick bodies in the state of Florida, and we don't seem to be targeting anyone outside the couple. We don't need 2 receivers. Even if we have a plan B, we need like 5 receivers. Why the hell aren't we offering just everybody and their mother and taking 5?
I will say with the receiving core, that one is a little more forgivable to me. It's not forgivable that Ron Dugans is still on staff. I don't get that at all. Like, he's here because of Kevin Coleman, and if we don't get Coleman, I genuinely think you probably see Dugans move on, and we have a mutual parting of ways, if you catch my drift. That being said, it's a long game, recruiting is, and this is really Mike Norvell's first recruiting class. So the fact that he's even sniffing a top 10 class is mind-blowing to me, because, short recruiting class, then COVID year. Him playing receiver in college, I'm with you to a degree. Look, sorry, folks in the, bootleg of Kansas, playing receiver at like whatever he was, Central Arkansas, like he didn't, it's not like how Pat Fitzgerald played linebacker, right? Pat Fitzgerald was a all Big Ten linebacker who played in the NFL, and then now he should be recruiting linebackers. It's like, Mike, I don't really pay that much stock to it. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked, but the point I'm making is that with recruiting being a long game, I think they probably have been just as surprised as we have by how little the young receivers on the team have panned out. So linebacker, I'm not letting him off the hook because we've known that's a disaster. I do think receiver is a newer development, because we even said after the spring game, we expected that to be a strong position this year. I think they expected it to be a strong position this year, and a lot of those guys have been misses. It sucks, but they haven't had as much time to, scramble and come up with the plan Bs and build the relationships they need. So I think that one's more, getting caught flat-footed, but linebacker to me is inexcusable, and it's just deflating is the best word I got for it.
Let me leave you one final comment here.
Please do.
This is going to be a really exciting recruiting class.
Mm-hmm.
We probably don't have any business finishing top 10-ish, and we're going to, but there's still going to be a large part of me that's going to be sour about the fact that we struck out yet again at the position we've known for 2 positions we've known for way too long are a problem. Didn't address them. Probably going to, and it's a good thing, have to play Travis Hunter at receiver, but behind him, same problem.
Yeah, I think he should play receiver regardless. That kid's just that good.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to summarize it, man. It is disappointing, but we're going to have to hit the transfer portal. Transfer portal is basically free agency at this point, folks. We will be tracking the transfer portal. More importantly, we will be tracking National Signing Day, early National Signing Day, which is this week. We'll be on Twitter at Knowles Anonymous. Check us out at Tally__Drake, at Max Moody 17, all those good things. And make sure, most importantly, you check us out tomorrow, because we're here 5 days a week. I'm Max. That was Dave. That was Drake. And this was Locked On Seminoles.